Chapter 4380. The families of those aristocratic young masters should be at their wits' end now, right? Yes, those few are not clear-headed and have implicated their peers in the same generation. Now, not only have their daughters' marriages been broken off, many of the men's marriages have also been broken off. Those who have not broken off are most likely involved too deeply and cannot break off. Speaking of which, they are innocent. Tangwa shook her head. They have already been punished, and the family can't expel them because of this matter. Uncle has already punished those who should be punished according to the law, and the rest are their family matters, so it's not good to interfere. It is said that they can get out of bed, so they were punished to kneel in the ancestral hall. Wei Sun said, their sisters in the family have all lost weight, but they are completely fine, kneeling in the ancestral hall, and their attitude is a little strange. Tangwa pursed her lips and smiled. Is it the kind where they feel like they have done something amazing? Princess can always hit the nail on the head. Wei Sun praised. That's because they think that their actions have protected their beloved Meng Shirin. Wei Sun was a little incredulous. So, they can sacrifice everyone in the family? In their opinion, it should be possible. Immersed in brainless love, they like to do such stupid things the most. Princess, do you have any thoughts? You were smiling so happily just now. Was it because you were thinking about this? Wei Sun felt that the princess did not have a good impression of those aristocratic young masters. No, it should be Meng Shirin's group. She was even waiting for them to be unlucky. Occasionally, she would give them a little push to make them more unlucky. I remember that in 2 months, it will be the Thousand Dynasty Festival. At that time, many small foreign countries will come to Baiguang. Among them, there are many small countries that hope to intermarry with our Baiguang. However, our Baiguang has a strong army and strong horses, so we don't need intermarriage to maintain the friendship with these small foreign countries. Young people who can see eye to eye with each other are also supportive. Wei Sun instantly understood. Princess means to solve the crisis of those few families during this Thousand Dynasty Festival? That's right. If those princesses of the small foreign countries take a fancy to those aristocratic young masters and recruit them back, then everything will be fine, right? Tangwa remembered that these princesses of small countries who came to find husbands had the right of inheritance, so they would not only have one husband. These husbands who were recruited from other countries couldn't possibly be the oldest one. To the men of Baiguang Kingdom, this was a humiliation. As long as we leak this information to those families, they will know what to do. Wei Sun understood. Princess invited me to play chess and drink tea today because you want me to do this? I can't go, can I? Tangwa said matter-of-factly. Aren't you just an errand boy? It was impossible for a princess like her to do such a thing, right? Wei Sun was convinced by this matter-of-fact expression. Yes, he was just an errand boy. He had even asked for this errand job himself. Don't worry, princess. I will handle this matter well. I guarantee that you will be satisfied. In order to save their family's reputation, the family heads of those aristocratic families were willing to send their bastards over. After marrying off to a small foreign country, it was almost impossible for them to come back. Princess, the tea here is good. Let me have another sip before I leave. Wei Sun didn't know when it started, but he liked to come here when he had nothing to do. It was good to see how the princess schemed against others. Peak. However, the result made everyone's jaws drop. The entire scene was filled with the petite girl pounding the large man. The scene was a bit unbearable to watch. The emperor almost covered his face. He looked at Tangwa a few times, as if to say, "Can't you leave me some face?" However, the emperor was shocked to see such a powerful woman. Where did Mount Jing pick up these treasures? In the next 4 matches, the Mount Jing guards crushed the 30 elite soldiers. The ministers who previously looked down on them only felt their faces hurt. The minister's eyes were filled with stars. Beside him, there was a fair-skinned attendant who was still whispering to him, "Father, the Mount Jing guard is really powerful. Now that daughter doesn't need to enter the palace. Can I go and be a Mount Jing guard?" Minister, didn't you say you were just going to watch the show? Vertex. Chapter 4382. Daddy, is Princess Jingshan powerful? Of course she is. Few men can match her. I also want to learn from her so that I can join the army in the future and live a different life. Last time when I encountered robbers, I couldn't do anything. Even if I shouted, I was afraid of attracting their attention. So, I could only stay in the carriage. If I also have the ability of Mount Jing, I will definitely beat the robbers away in the first place. Minister Shangshu had a headache. This requires talent. Not just any woman can be like my Mount Jing princess and Mount Jing Wei. So, Daddy, do you mean to let me have a try? If I can't do it, it's not too late to come back. Once I can do it, our family may have a female general who can win glory for Daddy and the family. Who dares to be unconvinced? The minister spread out his hands. Do you really want to go? Daddy, just have a try. It's not a big deal. Just have a try secretly. There are several sisters in the family. It's not bad to stay in the boudoir. Daddy, let me experience it. The minister was worn out. His daughter was very smart. He often sighed that it would be great if he had a son. He didn't expect his daughter had such an ambition. Why not have a try? Huaner, have a try? Let's make it clear first. If you can't do it, come back quickly. I won't force you to marry. It's not that the family can't support you for a lifetime. If you don't marry, you can stay at home and do other things. Thank you, Daddy. Qinghuan almost laughed out happily. She asked in a low and urgent voice, Daddy, when it's over, please help me to talk to Princess Jingshan. Okay. Tangwa really didn't expect that after the drill, these women of Mount Jing got permission to join the army. When she left, she gained the identity of the minister's daughter as a soldier. She could feel that the minister didn't intend to save his face at that time. It could be seen that he was a person who loved his daughter. Ordinary people would not indulge their daughter like this. In her memory, Qinghuan, the minister's daughter, was not a candidate for the crown prince's wife. Later, the man she liked had a good family background. But that man was dissolute, so Qinghuan didn't like him. The minister spoiled his daughter very much. That man didn't care about his daughter at all. He didn't restrain himself before marriage, so he simply broke off the engagement. However, this daughter of a minister did not have any intention of marrying. Instead, she devoted herself to the mountains and rivers, traveling everywhere and restoring many ancient books. This woman was not ordinary. Since she was here, she had to turn her into an outstanding female soldier. How far she could go would depend on herself. Qinghuan didn't expect Princess Jingshan to be so easy to talk to. After accepting her, she let her secretly move to the princess mansion the next day and train her every day. Tangwa gave her something to eat every day, and she always added some ingredients. Besides, Qinghuan was really talented. In particular, his comprehension ability was very strong. She was increasingly optimistic about him. The minister had only wanted to give it a try so that his daughter would back off. Who would have thought that a month later, his daughter, who had tanned and slimmed down, would perform a set of sword techniques in front of him? He quickly, accurately, and ruthlessly chopped down several wooden stakes to show him. In the end, he even chopped down a brick with his bare hands. Finally, she giggled and said to him, Daddy, your daughter can be considered talented, right? Look, isn't this a success? All right. Seeing that his daughter was so successful in everything, the minister could only agree. Vertex. Chapter 4383. With a Princess Jingshan and a Jingshan guard, his daughter's actions were not shocking. At least, even if the sky fell, there was still Princess Jingshan to support it. His daughter had been different since she was a child. It was really hard for her to stay in the boudoir. However, she was obedient and had always followed the rules. Now that there was a chance, let's give it a try. This time, Minister Shangshu directly announced to the public that his daughter would follow Princess Jingshan. The emperor was a little surprised. Minister Qing, why did you make such a decision? The emperor asked. Minister Shangshu sighed. Since my daughter was frightened, she couldn't sleep at night. Later, I thought of a way to let her learn martial arts. Sure enough, she was much better. She said that she envied Princess Jingshan, so I made the decision to let her follow Princess Jingshan. Princess Jingshan is such an excellent woman that my daughter has always admired. Seeing my daughter recover, I think it's worth it. Jingshan is indeed extraordinary. The emperor didn't ask much. Anyway, there was already Jingshan. It was nothing to have another Qinghuan. Couldn't other ministers understand that the crown princess was not good enough? They actually wanted to send their daughter to suffer. Many years later, when they saw the valiant woman on horseback who could take a person's head with a knife, they would no longer dare to say that the crown princess was very good. The Thousand Wave Festival that Tang Guo and several masters of aristocratic families looked forward to came. Before the Thousand Wave Festival, the masters of several aristocratic families asked their bastards to receive the princesses of the vassal states. With the talent and appearance of their bastards, they could definitely attract the vassal state's princess. At that time, they would design a plan, and the vassal state's princess would definitely take the trouble away. As far as they knew, these vassal states' princesses could hold real power. The princess's men had to listen to the princess. It was impossible for him to run back here. After they solved the trouble, other families should no longer look at their family's juniors with different eyes. The emperor was well aware of the actions of several aristocratic families. Wei Sun also told him about it. After the emperor knew it, he didn't mean to stop them. Instead, he gave them a lot of convenience, so that they could smoothly arrange those bastards to receive the princess and play with the princess. At that time, if the princess took a fancy to them, he, as the emperor, would give them an empty title of prince, which was quite a face. When the young masters of the aristocratic families were suddenly given such a task, they thought that their families really needed them. After receiving the princess, they tried their best to show off, as if they wanted to show off all their talents. However, he didn't know that his other brothers and sisters were trying their best not to show their faces, afraid that they would be targeted by those people from the small countries. Even if he had an excuse to decline, it would still be troublesome. Tang Guo planned to let the Mount Jing guards join the army next year. When the number of people increased, the emperor would have some arrangements. In addition, Qinghuan, the daughter of a minister, would also go next year. He didn't know how many years it would be before he could return. She had to teach them more skills, especially Qinghuan, the daughter of a minister, whose comprehension and memory were both excellent. He was also smart and eager to learn, so he would definitely be able to achieve great things. She had mixed quite a number of puppets inside to ensure their safety. When it came to the Thousand Wave Festival, the princess of this small country had already taken a liking to the handsome young man who received them. Seeing this, the patriarchs of the aristocratic families decided to use their last resort. What's done cannot be undone. They had all inquired about it. The princesses of small foreign countries didn't care about such things. Furthermore, they would be very happy to have a meal with a handsome princess. Vertex. Chapter 4384. In the scheme of the aristocratic family heads, during the Thousand Dynasty Festival, the young masters of the aristocratic families would have sex with the princesses of the vassal states. When Wen Fan and the other young masters woke up that morning, they were dumbfounded, especially when they saw the vassal princess lying beside them. Their hearts turned cold. Their minds were filled with thoughts of how they could face Meng Shirin. Just when their minds were in a mess, the vassal princess's men came in. Of course, this matter could not be concealed. Thus, these vassal states entered the palace to discuss with the emperor how to resolve this matter. After all, their princess was a noble and had the possibility of inheriting the throne in the future. In any case, their intention was that since they had slept with each other, they might as well bestow a marriage. Their princess would be responsible. They also knew the customs of Beiguang country. Thus, they did not say that they would be responsible for the young masters. Instead, they said that since the two of them had already reached this stage, it would be unreasonable if they did not get married. Beiguang country was surrounded by countless vassal states, who would specially understand their customs, especially these young masters who thought that they were overflowing with talent and would definitely be put in an important position. At this time, even those who understood would not be able to say more than a few words to them. Wen Fan and the rest had already lost their face in the previous matter. Not many people were willing to have anything to do with them. The emperor looked at the people below. The vassal states stood together with their princesses. The aristocratic family heads stood together with Wen Fan and the other young masters. However, he felt that even though these family heads looked gloomy, they were actually overjoyed in their hearts. After scheming for so long, they finally managed to send these scoundrels far away. Furthermore, it was the type that would solve the problem once and for all. The emperor first allowed both parties to argue. Other than when Fan and the other young masters, the rest would agree to the marriage. Thus, as the emperor, he did not need to be anxious. When the time came, he would just announce the result and issue an imperial edict. After about 15 minutes, everyone finished arguing. The result was as the emperor expected. The vassal states won. Since things have reached this stage, I will bestow a marriage to all of you. The emperor ignored Wen Fan and the other young masters' looks of disbelief and despair. Since you are marrying the princesses of the vassal states, then your statuses cannot be lowered. I will bestow upon you the title of king. I heard that the princesses of the vassal states will inherit the throne in the future. You definitely cannot stay in Baiguang country. Then after the Thousand Dynasty Festival, all of you can leave with the princesses. The emperor issued an imperial edict on the spot. It was difficult to change his words. Black Sail and the others knew that it was useless to rely on the emperor. How could they marry a foreign princess? They only had Ming Shireen in their hearts. Other than Ming Shireen, they would not marry anyone else. However, no one here pondered over their thoughts. The small countries were very happy, and they didn't dare to go too far. They quickly offered up the gold and silver they had brought. They knew that they could win this time because something really happened between the princess and the young master of the aristocratic family. Baiguang country, which was more conservative, would certainly have such a result. Rather than saying that Baiguang country had compromised with them, it was better to say that it was their own custom. The patriarchs of the aristocratic families were also extremely happy. However, they did not dare to let down their guard as they had not been sent away yet. These brainless people might even run away from the marriage and implicate their families. They had to make preparations to prevent those bastards from causing any more trouble. Vertex. Chapter 4385. The young masters of the world, who were planning to escape the marriage, found that their escape route was completely blocked. They could not leave at all. Even if they just took a step out, they would be caught immediately. Of course, Tanghua had a part to play in the failure of the aristocratic young masters to escape. Otherwise, the aristocratic families might not have been able to stop them. Not to mention other things, these people were very smart in this aspect. They had no sense of responsibility and never cared about the safety of their families and loved ones. They were born with a love brain. Ming Shireen was still in the capital. She did not dare to enter the capital in the short term. Such days really made her feel aggrieved. When did she have to live such sneaky days? She did not know when she would be able to walk freely in the capital. Princess Yunjin often left the capital to visit Ming Shireen, using the excuse of going to burn incense. Tanghua knew clearly and did not plan to care for the time being. Anyway, Ming Shireen was very good at trapping the people around her. She would trap them one by one, and no one would be able to escape. Today, Princess Yunjin went out of the capital to burn incense again. In fact, she missed Ming Shireen very much. Also, she saw how outstanding Tanghua was at the Thousand Wave Festival and how much the foreign countries admired her. She did not feel good. She could only find some comfort in Shireen. Of course, she would not tell Ming Shireen about this. Instead, she talked about the excitement of the Thousand Wave Festival and the strange things that the foreign countries brought. Ming Shireen did not listen seriously. Because of the Thousand Wave Festival, she had not seen the people around her for a long time. When she heard that Ming Fan and the others were going to receive the foreign countries, Tang Wenpan and the other sons of the emperor naturally could not leave. In this huge residence, there was only her and a few servants. If Princess Yunjin did not come to visit her, she would be alone. Ming Shireen did not like this very lonely day. She hoped that it could be as lively as before, with those familiar people by her side. She hoped that this lively Thousand Wave Festival would be over soon. What's the point of being so busy and lively? It doesn't belong to me, so what's the point? Her friends should also feel that the Thousand Wave Festival was very boring. They had to force a smile to deal with it. They must be very tired in their hearts. Eldest Princess Yunjin finally thought of something and decided to tell Ming Shireen about it. At this time, there was no smile on her face. There's one more thing I need to tell you. What is it? It's just Black Sail and the others. Princess Yunjin hesitated for a moment before continuing. After the 10,000 Banner Festival, they might have to leave with the princess of the small foreign country. Chapter 4386. Princess Royal Yunjin's words made Ming Shireen very upset. She felt as if she had been betrayed. How could Princess Royal Yunjin deceive her? So this could only be true. Sure enough, was power so tempting? They were still the same as the others, not the ones she knew before. Princess Royal Yunjin didn't know the truth of the matter, which was deliberately concealed by several parties. After all, it was related to the friendship between Baiguang country and several small foreign countries. Of course, they hoped that the princess and these young masters would love each other. Princess Royal Yunjin actually didn't have any power. Her IQ wasn't online. What she could investigate was what others were willing to let her see. Ming Shireen didn't plan to ask these people about the situation at all. Since they were like this, what was the point of asking them? It would also cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Since this is their choice, I can only give them my blessings. Shireen, don't be sad. There are many people around you, including me. It's such a pity. Why aren't you my biological daughter? When there is a chance in the future, I must mention this to the emperor, so that you can freely enter and leave the capital. In fact, she had another idea. It would be better if she could take Ming Shireen as her adopted daughter. But in the current situation, it was impossible. This made Princess Royal Yunjin very angry. The Thousand Directions Festival was not as boring as Ming Shireen imagined. On the contrary, it was very interesting. Because of the power of Baiguang country, these small foreign countries brought all kinds of rare things as a tribute. Once, Tangguo recognized the great use of the rare things brought by a small foreign country. The emperor thought that she was well-read and knowledgeable, so he let her see these little things. If it could be kept in Baiguang country, of course, it should be kept. It would be best if it became something of Baiguang country. Tangguo also had the same idea. Since her uncle was so supportive of her and gave her so many benefits, she didn't need to worry about it. Of course, she would use this identity to give him something in return. No matter what, during the reign of her uncle, Baiguang country must be prosperous. In the capital, there would be peddlers from small foreign countries selling their local products. This was suggested by Tangguo to make a special place for them. This way, it was easier to manage. The commoners did not need to run around like headless flies. They only needed to find the right place to buy things that they had never seen before. Every day, it was bustling with activity. Countless people came to play. It could be said that this Thousand Wave Festival was really interesting. Tangguo also suggested that they should trade more with these small foreign countries. They had some special products and were quite rich. In a certain area of the capital, it was specially provided for the peddlers of these small foreign countries. The products of Baiguang country would become more and more abundant if they brought goods from other small countries to trade. Of course, this was only limited to the small foreign states that had a good relationship with Baiguang state. If any small country was found to have bad intentions towards Baiguang country, they would immediately ban their trade. When the emperor heard this, he felt that it was feasible. His niece had recently found a lot of treasures for him. It was said that the treasures she had cultivated were all useful in Baiguang country. Unknowingly, a month of the 10,000 Directions Festival had passed. Those small countries that had a good harvest left with their loot satisfied. Vertex. Actually, there was no need to watch him too closely. As long as no one helped Blacksail, he would not be able to return and could only stay in this small desert country. A long time later, Blacksail began to recall why he had fallen to such a state. He was surprised to find that it was because of Ming Shireen. If it weren't for Ming Shireen, he would still be the elegant and talented young master of an aristocratic family. Even though he was the son of a concubine, his father valued him very much. Even the emperor valued him very much and gave him a small official title. Ever since he met Ming Shireen, it seemed that his life was turning in another direction. His family, relatives, and future didn't seem to be worth mentioning in front of Ming Shireen. She was the most important. For the sake of Ming Shireen's marriage, he didn't hesitate to ruin his cousin's reputation. After being betrothed, he still wanted to escape from the clan. At that time, he was very resentful. Why did his father lock him up? Now, he understood that if he really ran away from the marriage, his entire family would be implicated. Blacksail regretted, but unfortunately, it was already too late. Vertex. Chapter 4388. After when Fan and the other bastards were sent away, several aristocratic families breathed a sigh of relief. Next, they had to manage their reputation well, and let everyone see that this was just a piece of rat shit spoiling a pot of soup. Their family head was not that bad. After the Thousand Wave Festival, the number of foreigners in the capital increased. Most of them were merchants from small foreign countries that were friendly with Baegwang country. Gradually, there was a place in the capital that was called the Trade Street. Here, one could buy all kinds of strange things. It depended on one's taste. Because of the strict supervision, it was not easy to be cheated again. Many curious people liked to come here. The people in the capital knew that this trade street was actually proposed by Princess Jingshan, and they liked this princess even more. Princess Yunjin didn't go to the trade street because this place appeared because of Tang Guo. She couldn't bring herself to do that. She was so angry that she ran to the emperor and said something. Jingshan is now ambitious. Your Majesty, are you not afraid that she will have other thoughts and shake the crown prince's position? When the emperor heard this, his expression was indescribable. Whether Jingshan had that intention or not, he was sitting in such a high position. Could it be that he couldn't see it clearly? Sometimes he wondered if his sister, who was born from the same mother, had a problem with her brain. Her daughter was so outstanding, yet she didn't get close to her. Instead, she went against her everywhere. She couldn't wait for the other party to be bad. They were not mother and daughter, but enemies, right? Imperial sister, Jingshan is very good. The emperor used a few simple words to express his attitude. He hoped that Princess Yunjin wouldn't talk nonsense again. If it was a prince who did this, can you still sit here with peace of mind, Your Majesty? If it was another person who spoke like this, the emperor would have been furious. After all, this was a rebellious thing. But this person was Princess Yunjin, his imperial sister. The other party spoke without thinking. She didn't have any ability, but she had high standards. In addition, before his mother passed away, she told the emperor to take good care of his imperial sister. As long as she didn't make a threatening mistake, he wouldn't do anything to her. But he didn't know that after so many years, her brain didn't grow at all. Imperial sister, your misunderstanding of Jingshan is too deep. The emperor didn't dare to say that if Jingshan was his son, he couldn't wait to train him well. He was so happy that he would wake up laughing in his dreams. Why can't imperial sister see Jingshan doing well? The emperor knew about some of them. It was that Tang Guo was a prostitute, and his sister was biased against her. Now, Mount Jing was already very outstanding, subverting her royal sister's understanding, making her a little angry because everything was beyond her control. Also, Mount Jing wouldn't listen to her for everything. For example, the incident with Ming Shirin last time was hated by her royal sister. The better Mount Jing was, the worse her vision would be, which would make her angry. He just didn't know if there were any other reasons. If it was just this, it would be too laughable. Seeing that there was no result, Princess Yunjin left. Princess Yunjin sat in the carriage with a gloomy face. Why didn't she like Mount Jing? Because ever since she gave birth to this daughter, she had not had a good day. She was married to a faraway place. It was considered a political marriage. At that time, Baegwang state was still not powerful. When she was pregnant, she thought that it would be a boy so that she would be doted on. She didn't expect it to be a girl. Ever since she had this daughter, she suffered all kinds of ridicule and neglect. Later, the country she was in was in turmoil. Just because she was a daughter, she was treated like an invisible person. When she was fleeing, those people actually forgot about her. It was also her identity as the princess of Baegwang state that allowed her to escape. Those people didn't dare to do anything to her. They even treated her well. Later, she heard that the king died of a serious illness while fleeing with his concubines. At this time, Baegwang state knew of her existence and arranged for her to be brought back. Along the way, she had a delicate little daughter. The journey had to be slowed down, and there were all kinds of twists and turns. Later on, when that girl disappeared, she heaved a sigh of relief. feeling that she had thrown away a burden. After returning to Baiguang State for countless days and nights, she was actually a little guilty because she didn't seriously look for her daughter. She was a little scared. When Meng Shirin appeared, she was very good to her out of guilt, especially when she knew that the other party was on good terms with the crown prince. In addition, Meng Shirin was very well behaved. After she appeared, she had good luck again and again, unlike before. She didn't expect it to be a fake, but she would rather it be real. Sure enough, after that really appeared, she didn't have a good day. The summit. Chapter 4389. A few days after the 10,000 Dynasties Festival, it was a new year. At the beginning of the year, a major event happened. The Mount Jing guards under Princess Jingshan joined the army and went to the battlefield to kill enemies. There were a lot of Mount Jing guards, and most of them were women who were willing to join the army. Except for a few, the rest were either tricked into entering the brothel by mistake, or were forced by others. Now, they were rescued by Tanghua. Among them, Qinghuan, the daughter of a minister, also went. The Mount Jing guards were still called Mount Jing guards. The emperor did not intend to give them a more favorite name. This was the first women's army in Baiguang country. They didn't need to be trained at all, because Tanghua had trained them enough and sent them directly to the frontier. It's exactly the place that Tanghua was looking forward to, but that place isn't that stable. There were restless countries coveting the resources of Baiguang country. There were also some restless mountain bandits who often came to harass the people of Baiguang country, which needed many soldiers to guard. Everyone seemed to be used to it. As long as it was related to Princess Jingshan, no matter how shocking it was, they would accept it later and think it was right. Of course, they hadn't realized this problem until now. Recently, the Empress had been very worried. Because of the matter with the daughter of the minister, when she was selecting the crown princess for Tangwenpan, she was shocked to find that many of the daughters she thought were good had already settled their marriages before the 10,000 Dynasties Festival. For example, the daughter of a cabinet minister was going to get married in 2 months. The Empress didn't like the rest who were not engaged. She was a little annoyed and was even more angry with Meng Shirin. If it weren't for Meng Shirin, how could those boys do that kind of thing and cause many daughters to get engaged in a hurry? What did it mean? It was obvious that she didn't want to be the crown princess. She was afraid that after becoming the crown princess, something like the daughter of a minister would happen. The emperor knew about this. In his heart, Tang Wenpan was no longer qualified to be the crown prince. He was really not in a hurry about Tang Wenpan's marriage. On the surface, he didn't show anything. In fact, he had been secretly observing other half-grown princes to see which ones were more in line with his mind. As for Tang Wenpan, the crown prince, he didn't intend to abolish him for the time being. He would stand here as a target first. In this way, the new heir would have time to grow up. When Tanghua knew that the empress was worried, she almost laughed out loud. She deliberately blew up the matter of the minister's daughter. Her purpose was to let others know that marrying her daughter to Tang Wenpan was not necessarily a good thing. If someone was still willing to marry Tang Wenpan and become the crown princess after knowing this result, then it could only be said that the other party was gambling, and it depended on luck. Sure enough, it was as she had thought. Those who had a bit of foresight all felt that Tang Wenpan was not suitable and quickly chose another family for their daughter. When she heard that the daughter of the cabinet minister was also engaged, she was a little happy. In his memory, this young lady was just as unlucky as the original owner. Both were undeserved disasters. After being framed by those bastards, it was basically impossible for her to live happily in this era and find a good family. The Empress has no other choice. I heard that she has already retreated and finally found a few suitable candidates. Wei Sun said. It was very easy for him to know this information. Those families didn't avoid it? Tanghua was puzzled. Are those daughters of rich families willing to accept it? Vertex. Chapter 4390. There was a smile in Wei Sun's eyes. She's the crown princess after all. Everyone wants to take a gamble. If she succeeds, she'll be rich and powerful in the future. Her status won't just be a little higher. That's true. Uncle doesn't seem to plan on getting involved in this matter. Instead, he's letting the Empress deal with it. Tanghua knew what the Emperor meant. It was time to give up on Tang Wenpan. Wei Sun nodded. But His Majesty's words were very beautiful. Let the Empress choose carefully. She must choose a crown princess that she is satisfied with. It seems that the Empress wants the crown prince to marry a concubine. What about Meng Shirin? He didn't enter the city again? Not at the moment. I know that the princess is very concerned about this matter, so I've arranged for people to keep an eye on it. If she enters the city, I will inform you immediately. Tang Guo was satisfied. Thank you for your hard work, Eunuch Wei. Wei Sun felt very strange in his heart. Every time the princess smiled and said to him that it had been hard on him, and even called him Eunuch Wei, he felt uncomfortable all over. Clearly, other people also called him that, but he didn't feel awkward at all. Speaking of which, it's been a few years. I still don't know what grudges there are between Eunuch Wei and the Empress. At this point, you should be able to talk about it, right? No matter what, they were now planning all kinds of things together. They were like grasshoppers on the same boat. Wei Sun really didn't expect Tang Guo to ask this. Just as Tang Guo said, since they were so concerned, they could say it. Princess, you really want to know? If it's convenient for Eunuch Wei to speak. If you know about this, the princess will completely oppose the Empress's side. Aren't I her enemy? Eunuch Wei has helped me investigate so many things. There is already enmity between the two of us, so there is no need to talk about opposing each other. Wei Sun, my family died because of the Empress. At that time, I was studying outside and luckily escaped. Later, when I went back to investigate, I found out that it was the Empress who shielded her brother and killed my family. Eunuch Wei is a very decisive person. Tang Guo first glanced at Wei Sun's face, then her gaze slowly shifted downwards. You're such a good person, but you do some things just like that. Wei Sun understood what she meant. His expression was very uncomfortable, and upon closer inspection, he even had a slight blush on his face. This matter was not easy to explain. It also involved his own secret, so he did not intend to tell her. Speaking of this matter, it was also a freak combination of factors that allowed him to come to where he was today. So, Eunuch Wei, do you have any other plans after moving to the Empress? For example, the people who framed your family? Wei Sun. As long as the Empress falls, those people will naturally break the law. It's very easy. If the Empress did not fall, it would be very difficult to deal with them. Even if we can deal with it, the biggest culprit is the Empress. If it weren't for the local officials and the Empress orders, my family wouldn't have been killed. When Wei Sun mentioned this, his expression was very serious, and there was a faint anger in his eyes. She didn't want to talk about this anymore, so she changed the topic. Speaking of which, we've been in the capital for so long. I wonder what good food there is in the capital. Eunuch Wei should know, right? If the princess wants to eat, I will take you there at any time. Wei Sun was already used to the sudden change of topic. Princess Jing Shan had such a temperament. The two of them stopped talking about business. They got up and went out to look for food. No one would think that there was a problem with Wei Sun following Princess Jing Shan because he was only a eunuch. Most of the time, he was here to help Princess Jing Shan. This was permitted by the emperor. Vertex. Chapter 4391. Half a month later, the Empress chose a suitable crown princess for Tang Wenpan again. When she told Tang Wenpan about this matter, he still resisted. The Empress was very angry, but she didn't show it on the surface. She only asked Tang Wenpan what he was dissatisfied with. She could help him choose what he liked. Of course, Tang Wenpan couldn't say that he liked Meng Shirin. He clearly felt that the Empress was dissatisfied with Meng Shirin. If he said this again, it would only make things difficult for Meng Shirin. He insisted that he didn't want to get married now. He just wanted to learn more about being a ruler from his father. If it was in the past, the Empress would have believed his nonsense. This was clearly an excuse. Her son seemed to have been bewitched by Meng Shirin, that little fox. As her crown prince, how could he not have a concubine? In the future, the crown prince would be the emperor. He couldn't marry only one person, right? In the past, she thought that if Meng Shirin was more obedient, it wouldn't be impossible for her to be a concubine. In this situation, it wouldn't work. Mama, how are the preparations on your side? It's all ready. I'm just waiting for your orders. Then do it. The sooner you do it, the sooner the crown prince can marry the crown princess. It can't be delayed any longer. Do you want the whole court to see a joke? The matter of the minister's daughter had a bad impact on Tang Wenpan. It led to the engagement of the minister's daughter that he thought was good. This matter also angered the empress. She didn't know that there were many things that could make her faint. A few days later, Wei Sun came to report new news to Tanghua. It was about Meng Shireen and the third prince. Could it be that the crown prince found out that Meng Shireen and the third prince were having an affair? I don't know what's wrong with the third prince. He is the kind of person who will get what he likes by any means. But this was a good opportunity, so he didn't take action. He just endured it for a night and slept with Meng Shireen. Both of them were drugged, but they were able to endure it. Wei Sun's words were full of admiration. This should be true love. In the morning, the effect of the drug was basically over. Because of their restraint and struggle, they did look a little messy. In addition, they were chatting early in the morning about the crown prince's consort selection. Meng Shireen was very touched by the third prince's gentlemanliness. It was inevitable that the two of them would talk ambiguously. Coincidentally, the crown prince saw them and thought that something had happened between them. Wei Sun continued, "The crown prince probably thinks that he is struggling with the empress and doesn't want to marry the crown princess, while Meng Shireen's heart is cold because of him and his brother." Although the empress's move did not reach the extreme, it still affected the crown prince. If the empress continues to persuade him, the crown prince will most likely marry a concubine. However, nothing happened between Meng Shireen and the third prince. This matter will most likely ferment later on. At that time, it will probably be a pot of stew again, and it will be enough to torment me. After saying that, Wei Sun couldn't help but look at Tanghua a few more times. He expressed a sentence from the bottom of his heart. Now I finally understand why the princess wanted to keep Meng Shireen alive. Meng Shireen alone was able to destroy the crown prince, as well as a few young masters and princes. Impressive. After hearing this, Tanghua also felt that this play was very exciting. Sure enough, Meng Shireen wouldn't let her down. So many things had happened in a short period of time. Peak. Wherever she went, there would be a wave of trouble. After morning court, the emperor heard the empress's words and pretended to ask a few questions. Hearing the urgency in the empress's voice, he said, "It has been hard on the empress. Let's go and write the imperial edict with Zhen." The empress wanted to hold the crown prince's wedding as soon as possible, and the emperor agreed. He also felt that it was better to settle it as soon as possible so as to avoid any more trouble. The empress felt relieved and followed the emperor. After the imperial edict was written, the emperor immediately sent someone to read it out. The candidate for the crown princess had been decided, and they were just waiting for the date to be chosen. With the help of the empress, the wedding was set for half a month later. Those who knew were well aware, but they didn't dare to laugh. In the end, Meng Shireen still knew about the crown prince's marriage. When she found out, there were still 3 days before the wedding. The third prince couldn't wait for the crown prince to marry the crown princess, so he didn't persuade Meng Shireen to find her. The peak. Chapter 43-93. The third prince comforted her, "Shireen, the crown prince doesn't trust you. If he trusted you, he should have asked clearly. He doesn't understand what you endured for him that day. Such a person turned around and married another woman because of a misunderstanding. It can be seen that you are nothing in his heart." The third prince was actually very good at sowing discord. If he didn't do that, he wouldn't have had a chance. He could have restrained himself from touching Meng Shireen after he was drugged, but there was no reason why he couldn't get Meng Shireen to his side. The crown prince was going to marry the crown princess, which meant that he had given up on Shireen. Why couldn't he fight for himself? Unfortunately, Shireen doesn't care about me. If it were me, I would only marry you. Unlike the crown prince who hesitated and couldn't do anything. As long as I can marry you, even if I don't want to be a prince, I'm willing. The third prince's words moved Meng Shireen. Because of his gentlemanly behavior that day, Meng Shireen's impression of the third prince changed greatly. She thought that he was really a good person. Unfortunately, she didn't like him. If they met first, she would definitely like him. Seeing Meng Shirin's reaction, the third prince didn't force her. Don't think too much. I just said it casually. The crown prince marrying the crown princess is a foregone conclusion. No one can change it. Don't be too sad. Forget about him. You will meet someone better in the future. The crown prince doesn't deserve you. After being together for so long, he doesn't trust you at all. Meng Shirin was a little dazed. Yes, why didn't he listen to me? He even hit the third prince and left. Does he know what I went through? Shirin, don't be sad. Not long after, the other princes and Princess Yunjun also came to comfort Meng Shirin. They all felt that the crown prince didn't trust Meng Shirin. Now that the crown prince was going to marry the crown princess and the imperial edict was announced, it couldn't be changed. Princess Yunjin even said that all the princes here were better than the crown prince. At least they could only marry Meng Shirin and give up the position of a prince. Under such persuasion, Meng Shirin was furious. Yes, so many people were on her side. They could understand what kind of person she was. Why didn't Tang Wenpan trust her at all? Meng Shirin, who had originally wanted to look for Tang Wenpan to question him, decided to just shut herself in and recuperate. The Empress didn't expect this result. Since Meng Shirin didn't come out to make trouble, she didn't have to do anything. The crown prince's wedding was held as scheduled. Although it was a little short, the necessary things were not lacking at all. It was still a grand occasion. That day, Meng Shirin sneaked into the city to watch. When the crown princess of the Baiguang kingdom was married, there was a custom of touring the city. It was to receive the blessings of thousands of people and seek good luck. Tang Wenpan happened to find her in the crowd. He was a little moved and wanted to run away from the marriage. But when she saw the third prince whispering something to Meng Shirin, she was so angry that she almost fell off her horse. Therefore, Tang Wenpan revealed a smile and pretended to happily marry the crown princess. Tanghua was sitting on the second floor of the tea house. Seeing this scene, she was also very happy. The crown prince successfully married a concubine, but he did not consummate the marriage with the crown princess that night, because Tang Wenpan regretted it. He also warned the crown princess to keep it a secret. This crown princess didn't seem to be someone to be trifled with. She wasn't angry at all and listened to Tang Wenpan like a little bird. It made him feel better and guilty to her. So, he temporarily let her take care of the courtyard's affairs. Tanghua was already thinking about another matter, which was related to the zombie bug. Calculating the time, the Mount Jing guards had been sent to the border for several months. It was time to send some news back. The summit. Chapter 4394. Tanghua sent a message to the paper puppets who were disguised as women in the army far away at the border. She told them to start taking action and report the matter of the zombie insects. After instructing them, she went to the palace to talk to Empress Dowager Chen. When Empress Dowager Chen heard this, she was very happy. So, I can go outside soon. That's great. It wasn't a good thing to let the school bell play cards with her all day. Since the school bell came to this world, she was busy every day. It seemed that she didn't stop. It wasn't convenient for her to show up temporarily. She said that she was taking care of the school bell, but in the end, it was the school bell who took care of her. After chatting with Empress Dowager Chen for a while, Tanghua left the palace again. When she left the palace, she happened to see Princess Yunjin entering the palace. She still greeted her, but Princess Yunjin turned around and left. Tanghua didn't care too much. She quietly watched as eldest Princess Yunjin courted her own death. It was said that she was close to the Empress recently. It seemed that it was because of Meng Shirin. It was a joke. Meng Shirin seemed to still be unable to forget the crown prince. She suddenly got close to the Empress because she wanted to ask about Tang Wenpan's recent situation. If Tang Wenpan saw her, he might ask about Meng Shirin's situation. She thought that the love between two young people would inevitably be a little twists and turns. They had to go through a lot in the middle before it could bear fruit. A few days later, Princess Yunjin's wish came true. Tang Wenpan really missed Meng Shirin. He couldn't forget Meng Shirin. Otherwise, he wouldn't regret not being able to consummate with the crown princess on the wedding night. He found an opportunity to secretly meet Princess Yunjin. Shirin has lost a lot of weight. I heard from the maid that she often sits in front of the window at night. It makes people feel sorry for her. She eats very little every day. If you really care about Shireen, go and see her. Isn't she very close to the third brother? Tang Wenpan didn't forget that day when he saw Ming Shireen and the third prince cuddling on the bed. Otherwise, why would he marry the crown princess? She was the one who started the relationship between them. Princess Yunjin said, "Crown Prince, you've misunderstood. There's nothing between Shireen and the third prince. It's like this." Eldest Princess Yunjian explained everything, saying that the two of them had been drugged. She didn't know why, but the people in the house couldn't be called that day. They couldn't even find a doctor. The door to their room was still locked. They did not do anything that crossed the line. Instead, they were restraining themselves. The third prince was protecting Ming Shireen. He was afraid that she would struggle and lose her clothes. When Tang Wenpan heard this, his mind seemed to explode. Chapter 4395. So, after the two of them talked for a while, all the misunderstandings were cleared up. Now, Tang Wenpan and Ming Shireen met again. After explaining everything clearly, they are hugging each other and telling each other their hearts? Tangwa couldn't help but yawn. It wasn't even dawn yet, and Wei Sun had already stuffed her with melons. How well did Eunuch Wei know her? Why did he send her melons every day? Yes, they are already thinking about how to make Ming Shireen enter the emperor's eyes and return to the capital openly. After all, Ming Shireen's identity was a problem. It wasn't easy to be with Tang Wenpan. The imperial family was very familiar with Ming Shireen. This wasn't something that could be done simply by changing her identity. Unless Ming Shireen was a concubine and didn't appear in front of people, she didn't even have the qualifications to see the emperor and empress, so she wouldn't be noticed. Then, do they have any plans? It's not easy to clear her name and make Uncle pay attention to her and absolve her of her crimes. Wei Sun coughed and looked a little speechless. They plan to arrange for an assassin to attack the emperor when he is out hunting, and then let Ming Shireen block the knife. As long as Ming Shireen saves the emperor, all her previous crimes should be absolved, and she will be valued by the emperor. After speaking, Wei Sun looked at Tangua, as if waiting for a decision. In your dreams, this group of idiots. Hearing Tang was scolding people like this, Wei Sun also felt that this group of idiots did such disgusting things for the so-called love. Tang Wenpan was a crown prince, and he actually came up with such a rotten idea. As for Princess Yunjin, she actually agreed. She didn't worry about the safety of the emperor, her younger brother at all. What was wrong with her brain? For an outsider, she would do this? Uncle, when are you going to hunt? It's the autumn hunt in a while. At that time, some concubines in the palace will also go. The princes and princesses will definitely go. So the princess should also be arranged to go. That's good. With me, no matter how many assassins come, they will only die in the end. As for the people who inexplicably ran in, I'm sorry, but of course, I will drive them out. This group of people really dared to think that they could save the emperor. Then I'll stand with the princess, just in case. Tangua glanced at Wei Sun. Is Eunuch Wei doubting my martial arts? I don't dare. I'm just afraid that the princess wants to hear stories. It's something new, and no one can tell you. Wei Sun really didn't dare. The princess's martial arts were strong, and even he couldn't beat her. He had seen with his own eyes the scene of the princess breaking a saber with her small hand. Eunuch Wei, after the autumn hunt, my men might return with news of the zombie worms. Tangua thought of this and told Wei Sun first. Wei Sun's expression turned serious. Got it. 10 days later, it was time for the annual autumn hunt. The emperor brought his family and officials to the royal hunting grounds to hunt. Tangua was also among them. She purposely walked closer to the emperor. Today, she planned to be wherever the emperor was so that those fake assassins would not have a chance. Wei Sun also followed closely behind Tangua. The emperor was amused when he saw this. He always felt that Wei Sun listened to his niece more. Perhaps, this was because it was easier for young people to communicate with each other. Tangua's status was special. She often caused trouble, and everything she did was very valiant. Many people were wondering why the emperor was not afraid of such a sharp-edged Princess Jingshan. The summit. Chapter 4396. Even if she was a woman, giving her so much power, wasn't the emperor afraid? At least, in the eyes of outsiders, Princess Jingshan really had a lot of power. Even a person like Wei Sun could be used whenever she wanted. If the emperor knew their doubts, he would only laugh it off. After being the emperor for so many years, who had ambition and who didn't? Even if he couldn't see it, couldn't he feel it? If his niece had ambition, she would not let the Jingshan guards join the army with great fanfare, but hide it. She had never hidden anything about her influence. Many of the things she did seemed to deviate from the norm, but in fact, she had discussed it with him first. Speaking of which, Jingshan had become his blade. Doing those things would definitely be questioned, refuted, and even disgusted by many people. But Jingshan liked to do this. She seemed to be very interested in these things. Only she had no ambition. She was not interested in his position at all. He could feel it. Of course, he also felt that Jingshan didn't like the princes and the crown prince, and she was not close to the empress. On the contrary, Jingshan often visited the empress dowager. The emperor had to wonder if the empress was not as good as he imagined. Therefore, he no longer listened to the empress's words on the surface, but observed. Unlike in the past, he put down most of his guard on the empress's side and carefully pondered what the other party said. After pondering, he understood why Jingshan was not close to the empress. The empress's performance was too perfect, so perfect that it didn't seem like a real person. Some words seemed good, but after careful consideration, it was not the case. This discovery made the emperor a little sad. The empress dowager had always disliked the empress. Even when she was bestowed the marriage, the empress dowager said that the empress was not suitable. This person was too self-centered, selfish, and only cared about her own interests. She was not suitable to be the mother of the world. Since the marriage was bestowed, they had no room to refute. They just told him to be careful. On a whim, the emperor also asked someone to investigate the empress's family. This investigation was also very serious, but he didn't say anything for the time being. This matter involved too much. It couldn't be solved in a short time. When he came back to his senses, the emperor had already ridden a horse with a bow and ran to the mountain road ahead. His horse ran very fast, leaving the large army far behind in an instant. Tangwa's horse was also very fast. Even if it was not fast, it would be very fast with a talisman. She was a little speechless. Did the emperor like to leave everyone behind when he went hunting and did things by himself? Although her uncle's skills were not bad, he had encountered too many assassins. There was no way he could deal with them, and he would definitely be injured. Chapter 4397. Tangwa didn't perform much today. Last time, the Mount Jing guards and the elite troops drill didn't give the emperor uncle face. This time, she still had to give him face. The annual autumn hunt was not easy. Today, it should be her emperor uncle who took the lead. As the emperor, he rarely had such an opportunity to show his skills. The emperor saw that Tangwa rarely took action, and his heart relaxed. He couldn't help but laugh. Why hasn't Mount Jing started yet? Uncle, you've already captured enough. Those rabbits and deer are so cute, I can't do it. Wei Sun, Princess, are you joking? The emperor was amused and laughed. Then let's not shoot rabbits and deer. Let's shoot others. The others are not so cute. Wei Sun always felt that the emperor robbed him of his lines. It doesn't matter. Uncle can shoot whatever he likes. When Mount Jing said it just now, I really think that rabbits and deer are cuter than other animals. Their appearance is really likable. They look very simple and docile. In the following journey, the emperor really didn't shoot rabbits and deer. Tangwa didn't expect that because of her words, her uncle would really give up on the deer and rabbits that he had the most. Instead, he went to hunt other animals with great effort. Wei Sun also didn't take action. He was the one responsible for carrying things. She didn't know if it was because of his good tone today, but the emperor encountered a lot of prey. His archery was very accurate. Almost all of them were caught by him and had no chance to escape. Wei Sun looked at the various prey hanging on the horse's back and felt that he couldn't shoot today. On the other side, Tang Wenpan met with several princes. Princess Jingshan and Wei Sun followed. Should we continue with our plan? Someone asked. The third prince. This is a rare opportunity. If we miss it this time, we don't know when the next time will be. However, it still depends on what the crown prince thinks. Meng Shirin was also in this place. When she heard this, she said, "Does Princess Jingshan know martial arts? Eunuch Wei should know, the emperor knows, and if she doesn't know, she will actually be a burden." "It shouldn't be. I haven't heard that she knows martial arts. Tang Wenpan, let's follow the original plan. Let Shirin gain the favor of Father Emperor as soon as possible. With the merit of saving the emperor, Shirin doesn't have to hide like this." "All right, I'll make the arrangements then." The third prince said that he couldn't bear to see Meng Shirin unhappy, so he could only help her do things that would benefit her. Most importantly, the crown prince was also very patient. He didn't consummate his marriage with the crown princess, which was enough to prove that his feelings for Shirin were also true. Now that he had married a crown prince consort who had not consummated their marriage, it was not necessarily a bad thing. At least, no one would force him to marry again. In fact, he had another idea in his mind. After Shirin was exonerated, he would find an opportunity to enter the crown prince's palace. Even if he was temporarily a concubine, he would have children in the future. When the crown prince ascended the throne and conferred the title of empress, that was also possible. The crown prince's ascension to the throne meant that he was the emperor. He had the greatest authority, and no one else could do anything about it. When the third prince thought of this, his eyes gradually dimmed. If Shirin liked him, he would fight for this position no matter what. After some discussion, they proceeded according to the original plan. On this side, the emperor hunted a lot of prey and went deeper and deeper. "Dear host, a group of people is gradually approaching." "Got it." Tangwa became vigilant. Her hand was already on the hilt of her sword. In a moment, she would let these people have a good look at the consequences of assassinating her. Vertex. Chapter 4398. Dog Emperor, give me your life. The sudden loud shout indeed gave the emperor a big fright. When he saw clearly, he saw a group of black-clothed men in the distance. He didn't panic. Instead, he quickly drew his bow and shot an arrow at the black-clothed man. In the blink of an eye, the arrow pierced the throat of a black-clothed man. The black-clothed man was also stunned. He didn't expect the emperor to be so powerful. He directly shot an arrow at the throat. However, this was their mission. It was very likely that they would die after this. After all, they were trained death warriors. They still didn't care about their lives and rushed towards the emperor. There were many black-clothed men. Wei Sun jumped off his horse first and held a knife to stop the black-clothed men. However, there were too many people and he couldn't stop them alone. There were still many who rushed to Tangwa and the emperor's side aggressively. Meng Shirin was observing in the dark. When the black-clothed men attacked the emperor, she would block the knife. The third prince had already arranged everything. When the black-clothed men saw her, they would show mercy. At most, they would injure her, but it wouldn't be fatal. In fact, she was quite afraid. However, in order to save the emperor, she could only grit her teeth and do this. Tangwa pulled out her long sword and jumped off her horse to deal with the black-clothed men. Meng Shirin felt that Tangwa was overestimating herself. Unexpectedly, the black-clothed man who fiercely pounced on Tangwa was killed by her sword. Meng Shirin was stunned. Tangwa felt that these black-clothed men were very hostile to her, as if they wanted to take her life. She was happy. In addition to helping Meng Shirin, those people also added other orders at the last minute. Was it to take her life? She hadn't even settled the score yet, but they were very anxious. There was no hurry. One by one, they would all die in the hands of the person they loved the most. Was it cruel? She didn't think so. Didn't they deserve this? Tangwa blocked many of the black-clothed men's attacks, but there were still some who rushed towards the emperor. The emperor still had some martial arts skills. Tangwa actually divided half of her attention to pay attention to that side. If she wanted Meng Shirin to save the emperor, she must create an opportunity. Meng Shirin was also very nervous. Seeing Tangwa kill the black-clothed man indifferently, she felt a little scared and uneasy. But when she saw a black-clothed man attacking the emperor from behind, She gritted her teeth and quickly rushed out. Tangwa also noticed it. She turned around and leaped back. When the black-clothed man was about to approach the emperor, she chopped off his head. The black-clothed man even pretended to run. Meng Shirin just happened to rush over. Seeing the cruel scene in front of her, she screamed in fright. She seemed to have lost her mind, but she still kept running forward. Seeing that she was about to reach the emperor, Tangwa bluntly kicked her back into the bushes. Don't you see that there are many assassins here? He even dared to run around. Wei Sun noticed this scene, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Princess Jingshan was really a vengeful person. However, he felt that the kick just now was perfect. Meng Shirin was kicked and fell into the grass. Her heart was in great pain. She even spat out a mouthful of blood. She couldn't get up for the time being. This was different from their plan. Why was Princess Jingshan's martial arts so strong? Princess Royal Yunzhan had always said that she was not worse than Princess Jingshan. She was more like her daughter. However, although she knew the four arts, she really only knew a little bit. She was not like Princess Jingshan, who could be admired by all the scholars in the world. Nowadays, Princess Jingshan's poems and paintings were widely circulated. If there was an authentic work, it would definitely be priceless. Not only that, but Princess Jingshan also had such strong martial arts. How could Princess Royal Yunzhan think that she was better than Princess Jingshan? She wanted to get up and leave, but she couldn't move. She was very flustered, especially when she heard the sound of horse hooves coming one after another. She became even more flustered. There is still a person of unknown origin in the bushes over there. Go and see if he is dead. Just now, I was afraid that he would hurt Uncle, so I kicked him in a hurry. Tangwa was wiping the blood-stained sword in her hand. She said to Tang Wenpan and others with a smile. Seeing their complexions, she was in a good mood. The summit. Chapter 4399. Tang Wenpan and the others were looking for Meng Shirin. They already had a bad feeling when they didn't see her at the scene. When Tangwa said this, their faces changed on the spot. They forgot the current situation and quickly ran to the bush that Tangwa mentioned. But at this moment, most people's eyes were gathered on the emperor and didn't notice them. Naturally, only a few people found their behavior a little strange. Tangwa didn't want to delve into it. No matter what, her uncle was still the emperor. No matter how bad the relationship between the crown prince and the other princes was, she couldn't talk about them in front of him. This would only make him feel disgusted. He could see a lot of things. Under such circumstances, the crown prince and the princes who fell out of favor had no chance to make a comeback. After all, there were only a few emperors who didn't imagine things. Of course, the things they imagined were more convincing. Tang Wenpan and the others found Meng Shirin and carefully carried her up. Looking at Meng Shirin's dying appearance, their hearts were full of anger. She's too much, Tang Wenpan whispered. The third prince pulled Tang Wenpan. In a hurry, she wanted to protect father. This reaction is normal. We underestimated her martial arts. If it were anyone else, they would have succeeded. Is that what you're saying? Shirin is injured like this, and you still speak for an outsider. Moreover, you speak for the person who hurt Shirin. Tang Wenpan said irrationally. He was extremely displeased with the third prince. The third prince didn't get angry. You're so nervous. Do you want people to suspect something? I naturally don't like the person who hurt Shirin. What's the use of being angry at this time? Your Highness, now you should think about how to get Shirin out of trouble. The third prince sneered. Fortunately, this is not within the capital. Otherwise, Shirin wouldn't be able to explain herself. In my opinion, when Shirin recovers, you arrange someone to inform her that she came to the forest alone to relax. She didn't expect to get lost and suddenly encountered the scene before. She was scared silly. Okay. Tang Wenpan also calmed down. Now the most important thing was to help Meng Shirin out of trouble. Meng Shirin was not completely unconscious, but Tangwa's kick was so painful that she did not want to open her eyes at all. Little did she know that Tangwa's kick had not used any internal energy. It was just a normal kick. Otherwise, with Meng Shirin's physique, she would definitely die on the spot from her kick that was infused with internal energy. Crown Prince, is the person in the grass still breathing? Tangua's voice came from afar, almost making Tang Wenpan faint from anger. Tanghua went to observe eldest Princess Yunjin. She did have a worried and nervous look on her face, but she didn't rush to see Ming Shirin. It could be seen that eldest Princess Yunjin still had a clear distinction. If she went over, it would be easy to cause trouble. It should be said that she was afraid that he would be implicated in the assassination of the emperor. Tanghua and the others had taken care of quite a few of the assassins earlier. The rest had already committed suicide when they saw that they were no match for them. Tanghua could have stopped these assassins from committing suicide, but she did. In the end, it was better not to stop them. These assassins were arranged by the third prince. When the time came, the third prince would be the one to be punished. This would also alert the enemy. Without the third prince, how could Tang Wenpan, the crown prince, be trapped? She could see that the third prince's existence must be an obstacle between Tang Wenpan and Ming Shirin. Chapter 4400. As long as he was here, these two people would definitely cause all kinds of trouble. Therefore, it was better to keep her alive. However, her uncle, the emperor, would probably suspect something about this matter. Being suspected by the emperor was something she wanted to see. After Tangua's words, everyone's eyes fell on Tang Wenpan. He had no choice but to carry the person out. When everyone saw that action, they felt that it was very strange. A dignified crown prince actually went to carry a person of unknown origin. Judging from her clothes, she should be a woman, right? Could it be that this woman was so beautiful that she instantly bewitched the crown prince? The empress' expression was not very good. She felt that something was out of her expectations. The emperor's expression was also a bit strange. Was this the crown prince that he once thought was very outstanding? He was actually so careful to carry a person who might be an assassin of unknown origin? What was with that distressed expression? Who could tell him what his crown prince had done wrong? He could not see through his actions in the past few years. Tang Wenpan hated Tanghua to the core. He did not like her before, and now he hated her even more. Imperial father, it's all a misunderstanding. Tang Wenpan walked in front of the emperor and lowered his voice. This is Shirin. She was probably frightened at that time. Shirin doesn't know martial arts. She definitely can't be in cahoots with those assassins. Tanghua did not say anything. She was observing the emperor and found that there was indeed a flash of deep thought on his face. It seemed that he was suspecting something. As the emperor, he did not believe that today's matter was a coincidence. 89 Literature website. Tanghua and Wei Sun did not say anything, but the empress spoke first. Then why is Ming Shirin here? Doesn't she know that this is the royal hunting ground and that trespassing is not allowed? She was really pissed off. Why was Ming Shirin everywhere she went? She was haunting her. If this continued, she was really afraid that the crown prince's position would be affected. The emperor's attitude was becoming more and more unpredictable. The rest of the people also looked at Ming Shirin and Tang Wenpan's arms. They felt very strange and felt that something was wrong. They had not forgotten the relationship between Ming Shirin and the crown prince. Tang Wenpan said, "We'll have to wait until Shirin wakes up to know. She's seriously injured and needs to see a doctor." As he spoke, he couldn't help but glance at Tanghua, as if to tell everyone that Ming Shirin's injuries were all her fault. This time, everyone was even more speechless. Was the crown prince blaming Princess Jingshan? What was wrong with Princess Jingshan? When the emperor was in danger, wouldn't anyone's reaction be to kill the person who suddenly barged in? Perhaps because the other party was not a black shirt man, Princess Jingshan was merciful. She directly kicked the person out and did not directly take his life. It could be seen that Princess Jingshan was rational and benevolent. The current Tanghua was admired by many ministers. This Princess Jingshan was doing the truth, but it had nothing to do with their interests. She was not greedy for power, did not participate in any forces, and did not participate in court politics. How could people not like her? The emperor was also unhappy, so he said coldly, "Take him away first and ask a doctor to check on his injuries. If he can wake up, then we'll interrogate him." The guards took Ming Shirin away from Tang Wenpan's hands. Encountering his resistance, they were unwilling to let go. This scene made the Empress pull her handkerchief angrily. "Crown Prince, I'll send her over." Tang Wenpan was very stubborn, and the Empress had no choice. The summit. Chapter 4401. The Emperor ignored it. Sure enough, he was right. The Crown Prince was not suitable for this position. This time, the Empress saw that the Emperor was dissatisfied. She was anxious and hated Meng Shirin. Everyone saw Tang Wenpan's joke. They knew it in their hearts, but they didn't say anything. When they saw the Emperor's attitude, they suddenly understood that the Emperor was dissatisfied with this Crown Prince. The autumn hunt ended early because of this accident. Because of Tang Wenpan, Meng Shirin was well taken care of. After waking up, when she was interrogated, she said what the third prince taught her. She said that she went to the mountains to relax. She didn't expect to get lost. Suddenly, she saw a fight in front of her. She found that it was the Emperor and others, so she rushed over without thinking. The last sentence was added by Meng Shirin privately. She felt that it was unrealistic to take the initiative to rush up when she saw an assassin. After all, if there was danger, everyone would hide or run away first, instead of rushing over stupidly. If she found a familiar person, it was normal to rush over nervously. Meng Shirin's words made the Crown Prince and others very satisfied. They felt that she was worthy of being the person they liked. After this speech, even if someone was dissatisfied with her, the Emperor would not punish her. In fact, the Emperor still had a group in his heart. How could it be so coincidental? There must be something he didn't know. His first suspicion was whether Meng Shirin came here to have a rendezvous with Tang Wenpan. As for the several people colluding to assassinate him and create an opportunity for Meng Shirin to save the Emperor, he would never think of this. Meng Shirin was past, but the Crown Prince's image was also damaged a lot. At least in the hearts of the civil and military officials, they were not so satisfied with this Crown Prince. They all held an attitude of observation. Meng Shirin was once again sent out of the capital. Naturally, it was on the surface. Within a few days, she returned to the house in the capital. She was still very uncomfortable and was currently recuperating. She still felt that Tang's kick was a nightmare. Because of this incident, Tang Wenpan and others were very disgusted with Tanghua. Unfortunately, the current princess of Mount Jing was not someone they could do whatever they wanted. "Shirin, I will help you avenge this kick." Tang Wenpan said that when he became the emperor, the princess of Mount Jing should obediently stay in the princess mansion and not come out to show her face and make a fool of herself. The third prince didn't say much, although reason told him that Princess Jing Shan was merciful in this matter. However, Meng Shirin was more important, so she didn't stop Tang Wenpan from avenging her. "The opportunity we waited so long for is gone. What should we do now?" someone asked. Tang Wenpan, "Let Shirin recover first. This matter can't be rushed for the time being. I don't think this matter can be used on Imperial Father. Now that Imperial Father is out of the palace, no matter where he goes, he takes Princess Jingshan with him. Shirin can't succeed. Moreover, Shirin has shown up this time. If the same thing happens next time, even if Shirin helps Imperial Father block the blade, she will still be suspected. Perhaps they will even associate it with the assassination incident during the autumn hunt. At that time, it's hard to avoid people guessing something." The third prince analyzed. "You won't have the chance to take credit for saving the emperor." Tang Wenpan's expression wasn't good. Indeed, it's all because of that meddlesome Princess Jingshan. She hid it really well. Her martial arts are so strong, but she didn't leak any information. Vertex. Chapter 4402. Such a dangerous person. I don't know how Imperial Father can feel at ease keeping her by his side. You know, she didn't grow up in the palace, but outside. She also mingled with those crooks and honest people. Several people ridiculed Princess Jingshan for a while, then they began to discuss what to do after Meng Shirin's injury healed. Between lightning and thunder, Tang Wenpan thought of an idea. Why do we have to take credit for saving her? If we don't plan well, we will lose more. As he spoke, he looked at eldest Princess Yunjin. If Shirin saves Aunt Yunjin, she can also make a contribution. Aunt Yunjin may even take this opportunity to take Shireen as her goddaughter. Cousins couldn't get married, but it was ultimately a matter of blood relations. There was no such restriction for a goddamn cousin. Is this possible? Eldest Princess Yunjin was a little nervous. If this was the case, she was more willing, but she didn't know if it would work. The third prince pondered for a while. It can work, as long as we operate it, it will work. How do we operate it? Eldest Princess Yunjin thought that Ming Shireen would be her daughter in the future, so she attached great importance to this matter. The third prince said, "While Shireen is recovering, we can start now." On this day, just at dawn, Wei Sun sent melons to Tanghua. Eldest Princess Yunjin fell? Tanghua was a little confused. Wherever she goes, there are carriages and palanquins. The place where she can step must be flat and unimpeded. It seems that this fall is not simple. Otherwise, Eunuch Wei would not have come to inform me of this early in the morning. It's fake. Wei Sun took a sip of tea and whispered, "Most likely, she is planning something. We will see the result in a few days. However, the princess may have to visit her in a while, right? I have to go and see. I still have to do some face work. I can see what's going on with her. I guess if it's fake, it has something to do with Ming Shireen." At dawn, Tanghua was informed that eldest Princess Yunjin had fallen and injured, so she took people to visit her. Eldest Princess Yunjin naturally ignored her. Tanghua was not angry. After visiting, she left. The etiquette ended here. As for eldest Princess Yunjin's attitude, there would naturally be people who would help her spread the news. The other party probably hadn't been scolded enough by those scholars. Princess Yunjin had just recovered from her injuries for 2 days when something happened again. She seemed to have sprained her waist. When his waist was healed, all kinds of unlucky things happened again. There were rumors in the capital that eldest Princess Yunjin had bad luck. She was afraid that she would bring bad luck to the people in the palace, so she had not entered the palace for a long time. The emperor rewarded him with many things, but he did not deliberately investigate this matter. After all, it was all an accident. After all, he had to worry about national affairs every day. How could he have the time to think about these small problems? Naturally, he didn't think that this was all part of the crown prince's plan. Princess Yunjin continued to have bad luck. After all the injuries on her body were healed, she decided to go to the temple to ask the master. The next day, everyone in the capital knew that after the master divined for Princess Yunjin, he said that she was so unlucky because her fortune was weak. If there was no one with great fortune to help her, she might have been so unlucky for the rest of her life. Many people didn't believe it, but seeing Princess Yunjin's bad luck, they were quite puzzled and couldn't help but believe it. Mount Jing, what do you think of this matter? The emperor finally attached some importance to this matter. Doesn't that mean that I am not a person with great fortune? Even I can't suppress the bad luck. The peak. Chapter 4403. Mount Jing also doesn't know about this matter. Of course, Tanghua could only say that she didn't know. This matter was strange to outsiders. The emperor frowned. I always feel that this matter is strange, but many things can't be explained. Is there really something dirty? Tanghua only expressed her confusion about this matter and didn't say too much. The emperor heard that eldest Princess Yunjin often went to the temple and occasionally had some small problems. He gradually got used to it and didn't seem to cause any trouble, so he put this matter behind his mind. It wasn't until eldest Princess Yunjin encountered an assassin on the way back and was injured and almost died that the emperor's attention was attracted again. This time, the emperor hurriedly left the palace and went to the princess mansion to see eldest Princess Yunjin. He suddenly found that there was a familiar person standing next to eldest Princess Yunjin. Who else could it be but Ming Shireen? Tanghua also rushed over. After knowing that Ming Shireen saved eldest Princess Yunjin's life, she understood everything. It turned out that they were planning this. For Ming Shireen, her mother was really willing to go all out. Sure enough, after eldest Princess Yunjin woke up, she said that she wanted to accept Ming Shireen as her goddaughter. She also said that she was guided in a dream and Ming Shireen was her lucky star. This kind of strange thing, the emperor had no choice but to agree. But before that, he asked for Tanghua's opinion. Tangua, since Miss Ming is Mother's lucky star, then let's do as Mother wishes. That's fine. I won't care about this matter. As for wanting him to give Ming Shireen an identity, that was just a dream. She was still dreaming. Seeing that the Emperor didn't give in, eldest Princess Yunjun could only shrink back, fearing that she wouldn't be able to accept her as her goddaughter. Therefore, Ming Shireen became eldest Princess Yunjun's goddaughter. Because without the Emperor's golden mouth and jade words, she couldn't be considered a real member of the royal family. She didn't even have the identity of a princess. When she went out, she was only called Miss Ming. Eldest Princess Yunjin didn't realize that everyone was looking at her as if they were looking at a fool. 17, was there really such a strange thing? Everyone felt that there must be something hidden in this matter. Even the Emperor seemed to have realized something. He no longer wanted to pay attention to eldest Princess Yunjin. Whenever he thought of her, he would feel that his IQ would also be lowered. The Empress was unhappy. She finally couldn't tolerate Ming Shireen. Mama, you should find a way to kill Ming Shireen. Now there is a good excuse to shift the blame to Mount Jing. With this reason, everyone will think that Mount Jing is dissatisfied with Ming Shireen, and the Crown Prince will not resent me. Nyang, you have to think clearly. It's not a good thing to get involved with Princess Jingshan. The old mama didn't quite agree. Nanny, this little vixen Ming Shireen is too good at causing trouble. Look at how bad the Crown Prince has become because of her. If this continues, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep my position as the Crown Prince. Since your Highness has decided, this old servant will do as you say. The Empress originally wanted to kill Ming Shireen and blame it on Tangua, but she didn't know that Tangua had always arranged for Tongzi to monitor her. But when Ming Shireen was poisoned and Tang Wenpan stormed into the palace to question the Empress, she still hadn't reacted. Empress Mother, why did you do that? Can't you tolerate Shireen? Shireen didn't do anything bad. Her status is just a little low. Why do you look down on her so much? Do you want her life? The Empress also explained, but she didn't expect Tang Wenpan to come up with evidence. At that moment, she understood that she had fallen into Princess Jing Shan's trap. Mo was right. She shouldn't have provoked Mount Jing. Fortunately, Ming Shireen's protagonist aura was still there. Even if she was poisoned, she could still be saved. After Tang Wenpan and the Empress had a big quarrel, she left in a hurry. Nanny, I shouldn't have taken this step. I didn't expect Mount Jing to be so scheming. She is not simple. The nanny shook her head. This old servant didn't do things well. Now your Highness really can't compete with Princess Jingshan anymore. At least before the Crown Prince ascends the throne, you can't provoke him. The Empress gritted her teeth. It's all because of Ming Shireen, that little bitch. However, before the Empress could breathe a sigh of relief, she heard that Tangua hurried into the palace to see the Emperor. The Empress hurriedly inquired about the news. She thought that Tangua was complaining, but she didn't expect it to be more serious than complaining. Nanny, you mean Mount Jing has a way to cure the Empress Dowager's illness? The Empress's face was pale, and she almost lost her voice. How is it possible? The summit. Chapter 4404. Mama, did you really inquire clearly that Jingshan said she can cure the Empress Dowager's illness? The Empress's brain was about to explode. Before she moved to the capital of Xian country, she humiliated the Empress Dowager. The other party was a living dead person, and there was no evidence. Naturally, there was no way to take revenge. However, once the Empress Dowager stood up again, even if there was no evidence of the past, she would definitely not let her go. The Empress Dowager was not a simple person. Instead, she was very scheming. She would definitely think of a way to make her life difficult. Yes, Nyang, you didn't hear it wrong. Princess Jingshan did say that there is a way to cure the Empress Dowager's illness. The old mama's face was gloomy. Once the Empress Dowager recovers, it will be a big trouble for Nyang. Then what should I do? The Empress was anxious like an ant on a hot pan. She was very flustered. Her face, which originally looked kind, was a little distorted because of nervousness. Does that Jingshan have a grudge against me? Since she came back, she has always done all kinds of things. No wonder Yunjin doesn't like her. The Empress, who couldn't think of a way for the time being, could only blame this matter on the meddlesome Tangua. If Nyang wants to escape this disaster, there is only one way. The old mama narrowed her eyes. Perhaps this can be used to remove the obstacle of Princess Jingshan. This old slave has long wanted to say that Princess Jingshan is not easy to provoke. Her status is actually an obstacle to Nyang. If this can be used to make Princess Jingshan bear the crime of killing the Empress Dowager, even if she is liked by the Emperor, she can't do anything in the future. Even if she doesn't die, she won't have so much power. When the Empress heard this, she calmed down. Her somewhat flustered face was also calm. She asked in a low voice, "Mama means to use this to get rid of the Empress Dowager?" "Yes, only by getting rid of the Empress Dowager. The matter of Nyang harming the Empress Dowager will be buried in the ground. No one will ever know. The dead can't talk. At that time, Nyang will be truly relieved." With the Emperor's attention to the Empress Dowager, this matter is not easy to do. The Empress was obviously tempted. However, it's not impossible to use the forces in the dark, but this matter must be done cleanly. How can we make the Empress Dowager die immediately? Of course it's poison, the most vicious poison. The old mama's voice was gloomy. Not yet. You have to wait until Princess Jingshan treats the Empress Dowager. At that time, this matter can be blamed on her. At that time, she won't be able to defend herself. Just wait for the Emperor's anger. Then I'll leave it to you to find the poison. The Empress's voice was getting colder and colder. I wanted her to live longer, but Mount Jing didn't want her to live. Don't blame me if she dies. It's Mount Jing who should be blamed. If Mount Jing didn't meddle in other people's business, how could she die? After the Emperor was dismissed, he heard someone report that Tangua had something important to discuss with him. It was about the Empress Dowager's illness. The Emperor hurriedly came to see Tangua. When he heard that Tangua could cure the Empress Dowager's illness, he was completely happy after being surprised. After confirming that Tangua was not joking, he quickly asked what he should do. After Tangua explained the method, the Emperor didn't expect things to be so simple. For so many years, they all thought that this disease was incurable, and countless doctors were stumped. He didn't know how Mount Jing thought of the method and where she saw it. The Emperor had a lot of doubts in his heart. The summit. Chapter 4405. Jingshan is still knowledgeable. Now that the Empress Dowager can recover, you are the real lucky star. But, the Emperor said regretfully and did not continue. However, how could his imperial sister not tolerate Jingshan? Instead, she mingled with that wild girl all day long and treated that wild girl as her own daughter. She was seen as a joke by countless people. Speaking of this, the Emperor asked Tangua how she came up with this idea. Tangua told the truth about the zombie bugs, saying that the Mount Jing guards who went to the border to join the army accidentally found the existence of zombie bugs in the local area. Because she often went to the palace to visit the Empress Dowager, she also asked about her illness. She paid more attention to this aspect and privately looked for a cure. The Mount Jing guards were more concerned about this, so they specially arranged people to inquire about this from the locals. So, the characteristics of the zombie bugs and the symptoms if someone was bitten by the zombie bugs were exactly the same as the Empress Dowager. They asked the locals how to solve it, and then hurried back with the news. In fact, the locals are rarely bitten by the zombie bugs. Occasionally, they are bitten, but it is a very common thing. It can be solved by simply getting chicken blood. The places where the zombie bugs live are the extremely cold places, and the second is the flesh of the human body. The Emperor fell into contemplation. Tangua knew that he was imagining things again, so she did not disturb him. Mount Jing is saying that the zombie bugs are actually an ordinary thing in the eyes of the people in the border, and almost the local people know that it is already a common thing, so they rarely talk about it. Because the zombie bugs are just like ordinary poisonous bugs to them. It is not rare, so there is nothing to talk about. Therefore, if the outsiders did not inquire carefully and wandered around, they would not know the existence of the zombie bugs. Mount Jing just said that the environment where the zombie bugs live is mainly cold places?
Yes.
The Emperor asked indifferently. The Baiguang country has 4 seasons. The winter will be too cold, so the zombie bugs should not live. The Empress Dowager has never been to a cold place. She is most afraid of the cold and does not like bumps. How can she come into contact with the zombie bugs? It seems that someone harmed the Empress Dowager. Tangua did not say anything, waiting for the Emperor to fill in the blanks. If she spoke, it would be superfluous. In less than a year, the insignificant Mount Tranquil guards were able to discover the existence of zombie worms. Furthermore, they asked about the situation and even linked it to the Empress Dowager's illness. The Emperor paused for a moment before continuing. Why is it that General Li has been at the border for so many years, yet he hasn't sent back any news at all? So, General Li has lived at the border for so many years, yet he doesn't know about the existence of zombie worms at all? Ordinary soldiers definitely don't know what illness the Empress Dowager has, but General Li should be very clear about it. The Emperor continued to analyze. He once saw the Empress Dowager and asked about her illness. The Empress Dowager's illness was declared to be a strange illness to the outside world. There was no mention of the various symptoms of her body. Therefore, it was normal for ordinary soldiers not to know. Even some of the palace maids and eunuchs in the palace only knew that the Empress Dowager was sick and thought that she was paralyzed by a stroke. General Li also ordered people to deliver a lot of local specialties to me. The Emperor's last sentence was undoubtedly to confirm that General Li was a suspect. Who was General Li? He was the Empress's brother. It was hard not to think that this matter had something to do with the Empress. If it was a few years ago, the Emperor would definitely shake his head and say that it couldn't be the Empress. After a few years of observation, he understood that no one in the palace was as they appeared to be, especially the Empress. Did the Empress really harm the Empress Dowager? The apex. Chapter 4406. Jingshan, go and prepare to treat the Empress Dowager. I'm going to see the Empress Dowager. The Emperor decided to ask the Empress Dowager. Maybe she knew something. The reason why she didn't say it was probably because she didn't have any evidence and didn't know how to say it. Tangua returned to the princess mansion and communicated with the Empress Dowager. She felt that the conversation over there should be almost over. Sure enough, after a while, the Empress Dowager replied, Empress Dowager Chen, the Emperor asked me if I knew about my condition. He should be suspecting the Empress. Since he asked, I took advantage of this time to tell him about it. School bell. What was his reaction? Empress Dowager Chen. Of course he was very angry. If the floor of my bedroom wasn't hard, it might have been trampled by him. He said he would give me justice, but now is not the time. There are many problems with the Empress family. This matter is not a small matter, and it will involve a lot of people. School bell. It should be to investigate the evidence. Our plan will go on as usual. It won't affect it. The Empress is ready to kill you. Empress Dowager Chen. It feels so difficult to bathe in chicken blood again. Margaret. I used to hear the school bell tell stories. She said that the Empress Dowager in some TV series liked to bathe in blood, but that was the blood of an 18-year-old young girl. It was used to maintain her youth and beauty. Empress Dowager Chen. Margaret, your taste has always been very unique. You can remember such a disgusting story clearly and share it. The Emperor was very angry when he heard what the Empress Dowager said. He didn't expect that the Empress was like this in a place he didn't know. If it was a few years ago, he would have thought that the Empress Dowager might be seriously ill. The Empress was such a good person. How could she treat the Empress Dowager like that? In addition, the Empress Dowager had always had a little opinion of the Empress Dowager. Everyone would think that the Empress Dowager's personality became strange because she was sick. After all, the Empress did it very cleanly and didn't leave any evidence. However, now he knew about the zombie bug first, and the Empress family, and generally never mentioned the zombie bug to him. He had to arrange for someone to investigate these things clearly. Naturally, the person who ran this errand could only be Wei Sun. Wei Sun wasn't surprised at all when he received this task, but he didn't expect it to be so fast. However, there was no conflict. He would present all the evidence to the Emperor and let him see what kind of person the benevolent Empress was. On the other hand, Tangua was also preparing chicken blood for the Empress Dowager to solve the zombie bug problem. The chicken blood had been prepared and was waiting for the palace made to help the Empress Dowager into the bathtub. Tangwa knew that one of the maids was the Empress's maid. She would put some poison in the bathtub later. The Empress Dowager felt that she had been wronged. She actually had to soak in chicken blood 3 times. Just thinking about the taste made her very uncomfortable. Tangwa could tell that the palace maid was a little nervous. When several palace maids were about to help the Empress Dowager into the bathtub, she suddenly stopped them and said to the chicken blood in the bathtub, "Why do I feel that there is something wrong with the taste of this chicken blood?" As soon as she finished speaking, the palace maid's expression changed subconsciously. It was so obvious that Tangwa should have noticed it. Her eyes fell on the palace maid's face. "You look very nervous. Do you know what chicken blood is?" "I don't know." The palace maid quickly calmed down and answered in a low voice. "Vertex." Chapter 4407. Tangwa pointed out the palace maid. "It's my negligence. Even if it's chicken blood, someone must test the medicine for the Empress Dowager first, so as not to have a bad situation." Tangwa took out a dagger and handed it to the palace maid in front of her. "Cut your palm and immerse your hand in the bathtub." When Tangwa's words fell, the palace maid was so scared that her face turned pale, and her body kept trembling. If the poison touched the wound, she would be poisoned to death. But she had to do it, because her family was in the hands of the Empress. If she did anything unfavorable to the Empress, her family would all die. "You don't dare?" Tangwa took 2 steps closer. "Are you worried about the life of your family?" The palace maid was shocked and looked at Tangwa inconceivably. Her eyes widened. "How did Princess Jingshan know? Your family is very safe. You just need to tell me honestly what's going on." Tangwa also took out a token, which belonged to the palace maid's family. Since she was going to do these things, of course, she had been prepared for a long time. She was just waiting to overthrow the Empress. She had to overthrow the Empress openly, so that the Empress would not be unlucky and would have a good reputation. This slave will say it now. When she saw the token, she knew it was her little nephew's. She couldn't be mistaken. She bought it for her little nephew personally. The person who ordered the palace maid was the old mama. When Tangwa heard it, she felt that the old mama should be the person who instructed the Empress. Maybe in a while, the old mama would put all the blame on her. But it didn't matter. She was already prepared. Even the old mama couldn't protect the Empress. The Empress Dowager's chicken blood for treatment was poisoned. The Emperor hurried over and asked someone to throw a mouse in. After a while, the mouse's body stiffened and died. The palace maid pointed out that it was the old mama beside the Empress who ordered her to do so. She also said that her family was also threatened. When the Empress and the old mama were called, they thought that the Empress Dowager was dead. They didn't expect that things were exposed. "Mama, what should I do?" Looking at the situation, that cheap girl identified me. The old mama was much calmer than the Empress. She whispered, "Nyang Nyang, just say that you don't know anything. Leave everything to this old slave." The palace maid stated her previous words in front of everyone. The Emperor looked at the Empress and asked if the other party had anything else to say. The Empress wiped her tears according to the old mama's instructions. "Emperor, this concubine doesn't know anything. How can this concubine harm the Empress Dowager? It must be this palace maid's nonsense." The Emperor was unmoved. "She is just an ordinary palace maid. How could she have the ability to find such a poisonous medicine? How could she be so bold?" "I heard that the lives of her family members are in your hands." While the Emperor was questioning her and begging the Empress for mercy, claiming that she was innocent, the old nanny suddenly spoke. Everything was done by this old servant. Sure enough, the old lady's words made the scene quiet down for a while. Everyone's eyes fell on her. They didn't expect to be exposed here. The Emperor asked her why she did this. The old mama replied, "This old slave is bold. I regard the Empress as my daughter, so I want to get rid of anyone who oppresses her." Chapter 4408. The person who harmed the Empress Dowager is also this old slave. This old slave is afraid that the Empress Dowager will bully the Empress when she recovers. The Empress doesn't know about these things. This old slave only made the decision. The Empress was stunned. She was a little shocked. She looked at the old mama's stooped back. She couldn't bear it. But now she could only sacrifice the old mama to protect herself. Is that so? Tangwa interjected. Sure enough, the mother-daughter relationship is deep. The Empress is really lucky to have such a mother. Tangwa's words once again surprised the people present. What does this mean? The amount of information was too much, and they couldn't react. Next, it was time for Tangwa to perform. She took out the evidence she had investigated and proved that this old mama was the Empress's mother, and the Empress was not the mother of the Li family. She was the close maidservant of the Li family's mother. That is, this old mama gave birth to her. All this was an accident, and the Li family had no daughters. It just happened that the Empress's daughter was recorded in the name of the Li family's mother. From the beginning, they planned to send this daughter to the palace. The Empress's biological mother, of course, was not at ease. She planned to follow her into the palace and help her plan. You said that the Empress doesn't know. That's not right. She knows no less than you. Tangwa ordered people to catch the palace maids in the Empress's palace, as well as some who had helped her do bad things. She was not afraid of doing this, which would arouse the Emperor's attention. After all, she did it according to Empress Dowager Chen's instructions. It didn't seem strange that Empress Dowager Chen had some power in the harem, right? With all the evidence in front of them, the old mama and the Empress couldn't quibble. The Emperor was furious and sent the old mama to prison on the spot, while the Empress was locked in the palace and forbidden to go out. After all, she was the Empress, which was more troublesome to deal with. After that, Empress Dowager Chen continued to treat the Empress Dowager. The Emperor had been waiting outside, waiting for Empress Dowager Chen to be supported and slowly walk out. His eyes were a little red, and he hurriedly went to help her. I didn't expect the Emperor to notice that something was wrong with the Empress and let Mount Jing help Aijia do this. Sure enough, you didn't pick the wrong person. Fortunately, the Emperor arranged a capable helper for Mount Jing. Otherwise, so many things can't be investigated. The Empress Dowager has just recovered. Don't worry about this. I have already arranged for Wei Sun to investigate. I will give the Empress Dowager justice soon. It was hard for him to imagine the Empress Dowager, who could not move, lying on the bed and being slapped by the Empress. Bully. The Empress was definitely going to be abolished. However, when all the evidence was presented, it wouldn't be just a matter of abolishing the Empress. The brothers of the Empress family harmed the people. General Li was involved in the assassination of the Empress Dowager. The Empress assassinated the Empress Dowager and humiliated her. After all these things, it was not a simple matter. Tangwa thought to herself that when Wei Sun came over, not only would he have this evidence, but he would also have the crime of the Empress secretly harming other concubines and their children, mixing up the royal bloodline, and losing the bloodline. There seemed to be no precedent of killing the Empress in Baiguang country, but her uncle was likely to set a precedent. The Empress was locked in the palace. There was no one inside. She felt cold all over. Just a moment ago, she was still the high and mighty Empress. How did she end up like this? The old mama who was sent to prison was relatively quiet. Wrong. I took the wrong step. I shouldn't have confronted Princess Mount Jing. This person is not easy to deal with. This matter was kept under wraps. The other concubines in the harem didn't know the details of the matter. They only knew that the Empress somehow angered the Emperor. Tang Wenpan heard that the Empress was grounded, but he didn't come to visit. Now he was still busy taking care of Meng Shirin, who had just been detoxified. How could he take care of the Empress mother who wanted to kill his beloved? You really don't want to see the Empress? Meng Shirin asked. In fact, she was also very annoyed that the Empress wanted her life. Tang Wenpan shook his head. I won't go. Most likely, the Empress mother did something to make the Emperor unhappy. It will be fine after a while. She has done this to you. I don't want to see her for the time being. Chapter 4409. To be honest, Meng Shirin was a little relieved that the Empress was grounded, but she didn't know what the Empress did to be grounded. Hadn't the Emperor and the Empress always gotten along well? She suddenly remembered that the Emperor had countless concubines. Was it because of the fight in the harem? If Tang Wenpan became the Emperor in the future, would he also have countless concubines? Meng Shirin panicked when she thought of this. When Tang Wenpan found out the reason, he repeatedly promised Meng Shirin that he would only marry her and would never have concubines. Meng Shirin felt a little comforted, but then she thought of the crown princess in name only. Wasn't it just a marriage? So they quarreled again. When Tang Wenpan said that he would be the emperor in the future and could make the decisions, he would send the crown princess home. Nothing had happened between them. Meng Shirin was finally relieved. The two hugged each other and told each other their hearts. For many days, Tang Wenpan didn't plan to see the Empress after the morning court. He wanted to express his attitude. The Empress had gone too far when she wanted to kill Meng Shirin. He had to let the Empress know how important Shirin was to him. The Empress had been hoping that Tang Wenpan would visit her so that she could send out some news. She felt that the Emperor seemed to want to make an example of her family. What she had done had been exposed. The Emperor would probably investigate thoroughly. By then, the Li family would be finished. However, she waited and waited, but Tang Wenpan didn't come. It had been almost a month, but Tang Wenpan didn't want to see the Empress. But he still heard some rumors. The Empress was only grounded and didn't receive any bad punishment. The fire was extinguished. But he didn't know that what he knew was what the Emperor wanted him to know. When the Emperor knew Tang Wenpan's reaction, he was so angry that he laughed. For a wild girl, he even disregarded his own mother. How did I like such a crown prince? Forget it. Didn't I think the crown prince was unsuitable? To be honest, he really didn't want to depose the crown prince for the time being. Even if the Empress fell, he already had his eyes on a successor. He was still young and needed to be trained for many years. With Tang Wenpan as the crown prince, if he doted on him, many people might think that he still cared about the crown prince. Let others guess the Emperor's thoughts. As long as Tang Wenpan had nothing to do with the Li family. Another month passed, and the Emperor issued a decree to depose the Empress, throwing the evidence of the crimes committed by the Li family in front of the officials' faces. After everyone had seen it, the Li family was dealt with. Furthermore, General Li was already on his way back. Wei Sun had already investigated the matter regarding General Li. Those people from the Li clan bullied the people, preyed on the common people, abducted innocent girls, killed people, and embezzled. They were all caught in one fell swoop. Wei Sun had investigated these criminal evidence clearly. This was the matter he valued the most, and he had long been aware of it. He did not expect that he would be able to deal with the Li family and the Empress together. Speaking of which, it was actually thanks to Princess Jingshan. The imperial court was shocked by the Empress and the Li family. Because the Li family's evil deeds were condoned by the Empress, it was not strange that the Empress was deposed. However, they did not expect that after dethroning the Empress, the Emperor would issue an imperial edict to execute the Empress. Before the civil and military officials had time to be shocked, they saw the evidence that the Emperor had announced. The Empress plotted against the Empress Dowager. In fact, the Empress Dowager's illness was poisoned by the Empress. The person involved was General Li, and he was the one who found the poison for the Empress. Vertex. Chapter 44:10. Of course, the Emperor could not publicize the bad experiences of the Empress Dowager. If people knew that the Empress Dowager was slapped by the Empress every day when she couldn't move, it would be a joke. The civil and military officials found that there seemed to be a lot of words below. When they took a closer look, they found that it was the Empress's fault again. The Empress was behind the confusion of the real and fake princess. She knew from the beginning that Meng Shirin was not the real princess. There was another one behind, which shocked them even more. The disappearance of Princess Jingshan had something to do with the Empress. It turned out that the Empress arranged for someone to kill Princess Yunjin, which led to the disappearance of Princess Jingshan. As for killing the imperial heir and framing the imperial concubines in the harem, everyone was no longer surprised. In their opinion, It was inevitable to be stained with blood when one climbed to a high position in the harem. But these were not comparable to the things the Empress did before. Tang Wenpan was dumbfounded. How could it be? Wasn't the Empress mother just grounded? Why was she suddenly abolished and sentenced to death? His Empress mother was the Empress. How could she be sentenced to death? There was also the Li family, his grandfather's family, and now they were facing confiscation and execution. Tang Wenpan really didn't know about these things, so everyone shook their heads when they saw his shocked and incredulous look. Even though the Crown Prince didn't participate in all of these things and didn't make any mistakes, they all expected that even if the Crown Prince was saved for the time being, he might not inherit the throne in the future. Tang Wenpan's head was dizzy. He didn't know what to say about the things the Empress had done. So, the Empress mother killing Ming Shireen was just a very common thing in her eyes? 12th Literature Network. After the court, Tang Wenpan stumbled to see the Empress. The people arranged by the Emperor didn't stop him. No matter what, they still had to see each other for the last time. If they didn't see each other, how could the Empress urge Tang Wenpan to get the position under his, but as soon as possible? It could be said that if the Emperor wasn't blinded by the Empress' benevolent side, he would see everything clearly and would not automatically defend this person. Tang Wenpan's eyes were red when he saw the Empress, who was thin beyond recognition. He quickly apologized to her and said that he was going to plead for her, but he was stopped by the Empress. It's useless for anyone to plead for what I have done. I'm afraid the Emperor has planned this for a long time. The Empress actually knew that the key point was Princess Jingshan. She fell so fast. Most likely it had something to do with Princess Jingshan. Mama was right. She shouldn't go against Princess Jingshan. She couldn't even touch this person. How could a woman who could walk out of that place with a clean record and win the admiration of all the scholars in the world be a simple woman? Just look at those who had offended her, and you'll know what happened to them. Lord Lu Yu-er, the Ming clan's patriarch, and now her. All of them met tragic ends. What was even more frightening was that she still couldn't find any evidence to prove that the other party was behind all of this. Scary. This person is too scary. Mother, what should I do? Tang Wenpan choked with sobs. He regretted not coming to see the Empress earlier, but it was too late to regret now. Crown Prince, what you need to do now is to protect your position as the Crown Prince. Only when you become the Emperor in the future can you do what you want. Don't you like Ming Shireen? If you want to be with the person you like, you must obtain the greatest power so that no one can stop you. At this moment, Tang Wenpan even said that as long as he could save her, he would not be together with Ming Shireen. However, he was stopped by the Empress. Vertex. Chapter 44:11. There is no way to escape from what I have done. Crown Prince, you have to be good. By the way, when you are not in that position, don't provoke Princess Jingshan. This person is terrible. If there was a chance, the Empress certainly hoped to pull Tangua down. These things were exposed. I don't know what role she played in it. The Empress wanted Tang Wenpan to cheer up and be more ambitious to compete for that position, so she said this to him. At this time, she didn't say anything bad about Ming Shireen, lest he rebel. Instead, she encouraged Tang Wenpan to plan for what he liked, so that he could do whatever he wanted. This was to bury a thorn in Tang Wenpan's heart. Maybe one day, when he remembered this matter, he would think that the Empress and the Li family had an accident because he cared too much about Ming Shireen. In this way, the Empress still didn't want Tang Wenpan to be confused by Ming Shireen. She still wanted to put her in a difficult situation. Tang Wenpan and the Empress talked for a long time, and finally staggered away. He still went to the Emperor to plead, but he naturally failed. His heart was full of resentment and grief. The Empress said so much, but Tang Wenpan remembered one thing clearly. The Empress and the Li family's disaster had something to do with Tangua. Tangua kicked Ming Shireen, plus the previous big and small grudges. Anyway, as soon as Tangua appeared, Ming Shireen had all kinds of bad luck. He put all the sins on Tangua's head. After he left, he told Ming Shireen and the others about this result, and he didn't forget to say that the person who made this matter was Tangua. Therefore, in the eyes of Ming Shireen and the others, Tanghua was the one who killed the Empress and the Li family. Mount Jing is so intolerant, Princess Yunjin said. I didn't expect her to make such a big thing. In fact, in Princess Yunjin's heart, she didn't have any fluctuations when the Empress was sentenced to death. She knew that the person who arranged the assassin to assassinate her was the Empress. She was a little happy when the Empress was sentenced to death. She really didn't like the Empress. Besides, if the Empress didn't have to stop it, Shireen and Tang Wenpan could be together, right? The Empress almost killed Meng Shireen. Now that she was dead, no one would hurt Meng Shireen. As for Tanghua, her daughter, she did not want to exist. In the future, Tang Wenpan was going to be the emperor. When Tang Wenpan was the emperor, what could a mere Princess Jingshan change? She was still thinking that if Meng Shireen could become the empress in the future, she would be able to bask in her glory as a godmother. Under Tang Wenpan's guidance, Tanghua became a bad person in their eyes. The empress was sentenced to death, and the Li family was defeated. None of this had anything to do with Tang Wenpan. Everyone noticed that Tang Wenpan had become more serious and humble than before. He was much more meticulous in everything he did. The emperor didn't seem to have any intention of venting his anger on him. His position didn't seem to have changed. In the past 6 months, Tang Wenpan's actions were really like what a crown prince would do. The emperor often praised him, which made all the civil and military officials in the court feel a little incredulous. Could it be that the matter between the empress and the Li family had no effect on the crown prince? They didn't think that it wouldn't affect them, but the emperor's attitude was hard to fathom. They didn't know that the emperor privately asked Tanghua to help him take care of a little prince and let Tanghua be the little prince's teacher. However, on the surface, he let all the little princes be close to Tanghua and often go to Tanghua to play. He just told Tanghua to take care of one of them. Everyone understood the meaning. The summit. Chapter 44:12. Tanghua looked at the group of little radishes in front of her. Her uncle was quite powerful. He had so many sons, and the oldest was only 12 or 13 years old. The royal bloodline was not particularly bad, and each of them was particularly cute. She felt that it was a bit wasteful to only train one and let the others slack off. System. I feel that the host is going to raise cattle again. This time, it will be raised from childhood. After Tanghua made up her mind, she would observe the character of these little princes, their strengths, and their unique talents, and then focus on training them in this aspect. It had to be said that the emperor's vision was very sharp. The little prince he fancied was indeed the best one among them. In just a few months, the emperor found that Tanghua had led these little princes to undergo earth-shaking changes. They were full of confidence in front of him, and no matter what they said, they would mention Tanghua. They called Tanghua Master Mount Jing. Even if they were of the same generation, in their view, this was a teacher who really taught them skills and skills. When the emperor saw it, he was happy. Mount Jing was really not afraid of trouble. She even dug out all his son's strengths and focused on training them. It seemed that the division of labor was very clear. Even the aura that he didn't like, because he had stayed in the palace for too long, had lessened a lot. These little radishes had become more lively and quick-witted than before, and they were less scheming against each other. The emperor was very puzzled. How did Tanghua train these children? He thought that there were still many little princesses in the palace, so he waved his hand and sent the group of little princesses who had not yet reached adulthood to Tanghua's princess mansion. Mount Jing, they are all sensible children. Help me take a look at them. I think that whether it is a prince or a princess, it is always useful to see more and learn more. You have extensive knowledge. Even listening to stories here is good. No problem, uncle. Tanghua did not refuse. She was still thinking that if those little princesses were sent to her hands, it would be even more perfect. Speaking of training little princes, she wanted to train these little princesses more. So, the emperor left happily, feeling like he had thrown out a lot of burdens. With the knowledge of Mount Jing, wasn't it easy to teach these children? In the royal family, there were some princes, princesses, and eldest princesses with children. When they heard about this, they formed a team and went to the palace. When the emperor heard this, he was unhappy. This was the teacher of his children. What were they doing here? but everyone was a relative. He couldn't let his children occupy Mount Jing alone. Therefore, he came to the princess mansion to discuss this matter with Tanghua. Tanghua didn't refuse. If she taught one child, she would also teach a group of them. In the future, all the children of the royal family would be her students. She could peacefully retire as a salted fish princess. These children were still young and could be taught. Many of their thoughts could be easily changed. Tanghua looked at the way the children looked at her slowly turned into worship. She liked the feeling of being a role model. In the beginning, the little princesses in the palace were silent, gloomy, cautious, or a little arrogant. By now, the smiles on everyone's faces had become more sincere. Unconsciously, in the hearts of these children, Tanghua occupied a large part of them. In the princess residence, they could feel that they were treated differently. The summit. Chapter 44:13. How should this kind of treatment be described? It was not high and mighty, nor was it short-sighted. Whatever they learned, they were allowed to learn according to their interests. Not only that, but they could also listen to stories. The content was rich, and the text was very simple. It was not as difficult to understand as what they had learned before. Here, if they did well, they would be praised by Tanghua and rewarded with all kinds of delicious food. If they did something wrong, they would be criticized, but it would not hit their self-confidence. Who was the one who was jealous? It was those scholars who were jealous. Didn't these little radishes have better reincarnation skills? That was why they could get the guidance of Princess Jingshan. Unlike them, they could only send an invitation to visit. Not all Princess Jingshan could see them. They had to impress her with literary talent. Therefore, every time they sent an invitation, they had to show their talent. Some people who thought they were not talented enough could only cry at the door. However, they usually had the opportunity to meet because Princess Jingshan particularly liked to participate in various poetry and tea parties. She would also bring the group of little radishes. At that time, they could come up to ask for advice. The reason why they admired Princess Jingshan was not only because of her talent, but also because she would never dislike anyone's works. She would give people a lot of respect. She also said that everyone's understanding of things was different. They felt very comfortable with these words. It was not like the kind of argument they usually had with people, where each had their own opinions and argued until their faces were red. Of course, Tang Wenpan's group of people were not close to Tanghua. They had been planning how to let Tang Wenpan stabilize his position and become the emperor in the future. Unfortunately, the emperor was in his prime, and his body was very good. Tang Wenpan might have to wait for a long time. Tang Wenpan was not a serious person at all times. After working hard for a while, he found that his position was still unshakable. The emperor was very satisfied with his performance and relaxed a little. Seeing that Meng Shirin was getting older and older, Princess Yunjun was very worried about this matter. Meng Shirin herself began to be anxious. She was almost 25 and was already an old girl. She was more flustered than anyone else. The beliefs that she once insisted on seemed to be slowly disappearing. The only consolation was that Tang Wenpan, whether it was his body or his heart, was with her. Finally, under the suggestion of Princess Yunjun, Tang Wenpan decided to take Meng Shirin as a concubine. He also promised that when he became the emperor in the future, Meng Shirin would be the empress. Therefore, Meng Shirin compromised. The emperor saw that they had discussed it and did not make things difficult for them, so he agreed. This time, it was on the jade disc. After all, the crown prince's concubine still had some status. In any case, the crown prince would not inherit the throne in the future. He could do whatever he wanted. The current crown prince was just a shield. Actually, Meng Shirin couldn't bring herself to be happy. According to the rules, she couldn't wear red. She still had to follow the etiquette and toast to the crown princess and pay her respects. In the beginning, she had thought that the crown prince consort would definitely make things difficult for her, but she believed that Tang Wenpan would protect her, so she wasn't afraid. If the crown princess was not smart, she would only be digging her own grave. However, she hadn't expected the crown prince consort to be so modest and amiable. She didn't make things difficult for her at all, and was even very considerate. This kind of behavior made her very flustered. Tang Wenpan slept in her room every day. The crown prince consort was still extremely kind to her during the day. Although everything was fine, Meng Shirin still felt very uneasy. Her personality was that if she was not comfortable, the people around her would not be comfortable either. Vertex. Chapter 44:14. Occasionally, she would quarrel with Tang Wenpan over a very small matter. Tang Wenpan would often stay overnight in the study because of her anger. At this time, the crown princess would send a cup of hot tea to Tang Wenpan. She would also comfort him, saying that his sister was young and should be more tolerant. This kind of thing often happened. The crown princess didn't fight for anything, so Tang Wenpan didn't take back her authority to manage the crown prince residence. He also felt that Meng Shirin wasn't good at managing these things, so it was better for her to live peacefully with him. But Princess Royal Yunjin paid attention to this, and even asked Meng Shirin if she had a butler. Meng Shirin said directly, "The crown princess is in charge of these things." Princess Royal Yunjin said that she was silly. As the true mistress of the crown prince residence, she had to manage the household. Meng Shirin heard Princess Royal Yunjin say a lot. She was very concerned about her status as a concubine, so she went back to tell Tang Wenpan. But Tang Wenpan refused. "I don't want you to be so tired. Managing the entire crown prince residence will make you worry about many things." "I don't feel tired," Meng Shirin said stubbornly. "Do you also think that I'm just a concubine, so I don't have the right to manage these things? You and the crown princess are just in name. You both know that. Now that we're married, didn't you always say that I'm the mistress here? Why don't I have the authority to manage the household?" Meng Shirin had asked around. As the mistress, she had to manage the household. She was the mistress and had real power. She had felt that something was wrong before, so it was because of this. "You haven't done these things before. It's not what you think." Tang Wenpan didn't want to give the authority to Meng Shirin. In fact, he really felt that this matter was tiring. The crown princess was very obedient and didn't make trouble. She should be raised as a subordinate. Moreover, if this matter spread out, she would definitely be laughed at. The crown princess didn't do anything wrong by letting a concubine manage the household. He felt that the crown princess was so tactful that he should give her some dignity. If her maiden family found out, this matter would probably blow up. At that time, his imperial father would have a bad impression of him. Therefore, he couldn't give the authority to Meng Shirin, the concubine, no matter what. The two of them had a conflict. The crown princess brought tea to comfort Tang Wenpan. When she learned of this matter, she offered to give the authority to Meng Shirin. This isn't good for you. If word gets out, you'll become a joke." The crown princess shook her head with a smile and said unconcernedly, "This concubine knows that your highness does not have any thoughts towards me. We cannot become husband and wife. After all, your highness already has someone you like." Why should your relationship be affected because of the authority to manage the household? As long as your highness can give this concubine some face, this concubine can be an invisible person. Your highness can announce to the public that concubine is still in charge of the household, but in reality, you can leave it to Meng Mimi. Tang Wenpan suddenly felt that if Meng Shirin was so sensible, she wouldn't make things difficult for him. Since the crown prince consort had already agreed, then Shirin should give it a try. The next day, the crown prince consort delivered the keys and account books to Meng Shirin. She even urged the steward to help out and gave some other instructions before returning to her own courtyard to act like an invisible person. When Meng Shirin saw the tall account book, she was a little confused, especially when the steward was beside her, telling her what the princess and the prince's family were doing and asking her what she wanted to buy. Also, the crown prince's birthday was coming up. She asked her what she was going to do. Instantly, Meng Shirin felt a headache coming on. She regretted vying for the authority to manage the household. Concubine Ming, the crown prince consort, had originally decided to make an inventory of the shops under the crown prince's residence these few days. When will you go over? Vertex. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.